Your screen lights up, a new email, the subject line, urgent regarding your employment status. Your heart hammers against your ribs. You open it and the words blur together. Immediate termination, violation of company policy. Your mind races. What policy? Then it hits you, that TikTok, the harmless day in the life video showing you making coffee in the office, laughing with a coworker and finishing a project. It went viral, hitting 1 million views. You felt proud. Now that pride is curdled into cold, sickening dread. How could 15 seconds of content shot on your phone erase your entire career? This isn't a single cautionary tale. This is the new reality for Gen Z in 2025. The leading question in today's episode is this: why are more Gen Zers losing their jobs over a single post on TikTok? The issue isn't just simple carelessness. It's a fundamental clash between the culture of online transparency we were raised in and the corporate rules of confidentiality built for a bygone era. If you're worried about the line between your online life and your career, subscribe to GENSHIFT right now, because we are about to give you the definitive guide to navigating this risk and future-proofing your career. One, the new surveillance, data on digital discipline. To understand why these terminations are escalating, we need to look at the numbers. These are not isolated incidents. They are part of a measurable, accelerating trend fueled by a new reality. The workplace has become a surveillance state. The data from human resources industry surveys paints a stark picture. An astonishing 88% of U.S. hiring managers would consider firing an employee for content posted on their personal social media accounts. Let that sink in. Nearly 9 out of 10 leaders view your digital life as an extension of the office, subject to professional judgment and discipline. Only a tiny fraction, just 12%, believe there's nothing you could post that would warrant termination. This sentiment is mirrored by employees themselves. 86% of job seekers agree that companies have the right to fire them for certain types of posts, indicating a widespread awareness of the risk. This intense scrutiny is enabled by an explosion in corporate monitoring technology. By 2025, a projected 70% of large enterprises will be actively monitoring their staff, a significant increase that reflects the normalization of digital oversight. Gartner estimates that 71% of all employees are now digitally monitored, a figure that has risen by nearly 30% in just 1 year. This isn't just for remote workers. 75% of companies monitor employees on site as well. The methods are comprehensive and invasive. Around 78% of companies now use employee tracking tools. This includes monitoring the websites you visit, which 66% of companies do, and tracking the apps you use, a practice at 53% of firms. More than half of companies even capture periodic screenshots of your computer screen. An incredible 86% of companies using these tools engage in real-time activity monitoring, tracking your keystrokes and mouse movements. Even private communications aren't exempt, with 23% of organizations monitoring employee emails. This creates a paradox we call the double-edged sword of transparency. Organizations demand near total transparency from their employees, tracking their every digital footprint. Yet when a Gen Z employee operating with a native instinct for sharing directs that transparency back at the company through a behind-the-scenes video or a post about office culture, they face severe consequences. The company demands the right to see everything you do, while simultaneously forbidding you from showing anything about them. This is not a simple policy dispute. It is a fundamental conflict over power, control, and the very definition of the workplace boundary in the digital age. While employers claim this monitoring boosts productivity, with 81% reporting an increase in work output, the impact on the workforce tells a different story. Over 56% of employees report feeling stress and anxiety due to this surveillance. This constant pressure is breeding a culture of resistance, not compliance. Nearly half of remote employees admit to faking being online, while others use anti-surveillance software or mouse jigglers to create the illusion of activity. As the corporate gaze becomes more pervasive, the risk for employees intensifies, creating a high-stakes environment where a single digital misstep can have career-ending consequences. 2. The transparency trap, understanding the cultural conflict. So why does Gen Z take this risk? To understand this, we have to move beyond stereotypes of recklessness and analyze the deep-seated psychological and cultural drivers that shape our behavior. Gen Z is the first true digital natives. We have no memory of a world without the internet, social media, and smartphones. This constant immersion has fundamentally shaped how we communicate, form our identities, and develop our value systems. At the core of the Gen Z psyche is a profound demand for authenticity and transparency. Having grown up inundated with advertising and curated online personas, we've developed a highly sensitive filter for anything that feels inauthentic or like polished spin. This skepticism extends to the workplace. We distrust traditional corporate hierarchies and top-down communication. For our generation, trust isn't granted, it's earned through openness. We expect leaders to explain the why behind decisions, not just announce the what. Sharing behind-the-scenes content, showing daily struggles and wins, isn't seen as a breach of professionalism, but as the highest form of authenticity, a way to show the real side of work that builds connection. For us, the mantra is, if it wasn't posted, it didn't happen. Furthermore, platforms like TikTok have become essential tools for career development. An astonishing 92% of Gen Zers trust TikTok for career advice, and 46% have secured a job or internship through the platform. This legitimizes these spaces in our minds as valid extensions of the workplace, blurring the line between personal and professional online life. This is where the conflict ignites. A Gen Z employee posts a day in the life video, believing it to be a positive act of personal branding and transparency. They are showcasing a dynamic work environment, connecting with peers, and building their professional identity. The corporation, however, interprets this same action through a completely different and oppositional lens: risk management. The legal and HR departments don't see a young professional building their brand. They see a series of potential liabilities. Damaging the company's reputation is the #1 unfireable offense cited by hiring managers, followed closely by revealing confidential information. The company logo on a coffee mug, a whiteboard in the background with project notes, a casual complaint about a client. Each of these elements is a potential vector for brand damage, the inadvertent disclosure of proprietary information, or even legal exposure. The data shows a clear generational divide in this perception. 51% of Gen Z workers believe an active social media presence can positively influence a career, whereas 48% of employed baby boomers believe it's more likely to have a negative effect. Consequently, the very action that the employee perceives as a positive contribution to their professional life is categorized by the organization as a fireable offense. This is not a simple misunderstanding. It is a fundamental cultural conflict over the definition of professional activity and workplace boundaries in the digital age. 3. The code switch, a blueprint for digital professionalism. So how do we survive this cultural clash? The answer isn't to stop sharing, but to learn how to share strategically. Welcome to the concept of digital professionalism, a core survival skill for the modern workforce. It's not about creating a boring, corporate-approved online persona. It's about learning to code switch, the ability to consciously adapt your communication style to fit different social and professional contexts. Just as you speak differently to a close friend than to a CEO, digital professionalism involves applying that same intentionality online. To make this tangible, use a simple 3-question check before you post any work-related content. First, the audience question: would I be comfortable showing this to my direct manager, our CEO, or a top competitor? This question immediately forces a perspective shift, reframing a personal post in a professional context. If the answer is no, it's likely inappropriate for a public forum. Second, the environment question: what is visible in my post? Is the company logo, a client's name, or any sensitive information visible on a screen, whiteboard, or document in the background? This targets the critical risk of inadvertently disclosing confidential information. It trains you to be mindful of your surroundings. Third, the interpretation question: could my tone, joke, or complaint be misinterpreted by someone who lacks the full context? Could this be perceived as harassment or a violation of our company's values? This addresses the legal and cultural risks, encouraging you to consider how your words might be perceived by a global audience. Mastering this code allows you to create compelling, authentic content without jeopardizing your job. Instead of company-specific, day-in-the-life videos, focus on general career advice or industry insights. It is also critical to actually read and understand your company's social media policy. These documents often outline what is and is not allowed. Our prediction for 2025 and beyond is that digital professionalism will become a mandatory skill for all knowledge workers. The future workforce will need to master code switching between their online and offline identities to succeed. Conclusion. So we're back to that termination email. The viral firing is more than a personal tragedy. It's a symptom of a larger shift. The digital world is no longer a purely personal space, separate from our professional lives. The boundaries have permanently blurred. Blaming Gen Z for being too open is as pointless as blaming companies for protecting their interests. Instead, the path forward requires an evolution. A new understanding of professionalism in the digital age. Mastering these boundaries isn't just about following rules, it's an essential survival skill for your career. What are your thoughts on social media policies at work? Are they too strict or not clear enough? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And for more deep dives on how to thrive in the modern world of work, make sure you're subscribed to GENSHIFT. Thanks for watching.